Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode 147. We're recording on the 23rd, and you're watching on the 23rd. It's crazy. It's like almost live, but not quite. Almost live. That's because we waited for some news to drop yesterday before we came in here to the studio, and now it's time to do the recording. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, but joining me, as they always do, you love him, Mr. Hearthstone. Jason Winter, how are you, sir?
You know, it'll be a great trick, though, if we could record maybe on Friday and put it up Thursday. We can manage that.
Then none of us needs to write about video games anymore.
Probably not.
We'd make new livings. Also on the line from Free to Play Weekly, Mr. Zach Sharps. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you, Mr. Mike?
Yeah, well, you know. I'm here.
Another day in paradise.
Jason's here. You're here. But let's get to the news and find out who's not going to be here anymore.
Ooh.
Let's start right there. So, Mr. John Smedley, CEO of formerly Sony Online Entertainment, now Daybreak Games, no more. He's going to be stepping down. Now, from everything we're reading right now, it's a voluntary stepping down type thing. We'll discuss our thoughts on that in just a second. But he's taking a hiatus. He's not leaving. He's just kind of leaving. You know, I don't really know what's going on here. So he's leaving from the CEO position for a little while. He's gonna come back, they say, into a new role. But Jason, they don't know what that role's gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be CEO. They got someone else, their former chief operating officer, Russell Shanks, is taking over. While Smedley is, let's see if I can find the exact quote here, he is going to, and this page loads really slowly, he is taking some time off of the company for the near term and transitioning to a different role to be determined. So, yeah, he is leaving the CEO position, going to take a break, maybe just to clear his mind, go get a little Zen meditation, maybe he'll go to Tibet, study with monks or something, I don't know. But yeah, he's going to be, when he comes back, he will not be CEO, so.
I kind of have mixed feelings on this one, Zach, because, like, some of the things Smed has said, I sit there or tweeted or put on Reddit, I sit there and I go, I can't believe he just said that. I can't believe, like, I appreciate the blunt honesty, but I really, like, their PR team and their HR team has got to be pulling their hair out every time he takes to his social medias. So earlier this week, or late last week, his Twitter goes dark, his Reddit account goes dark. Jason reaches out to Daybreak Games and says, hey, what's going on? Is this, it's his personal accounts, so is it personal or whatever? They say, no comment. And then days later, we find out that he took them down voluntarily, and then days later after that, we find out he's taking a step down. What's your initial gut reaction on Smedley taking a step down, Zach?
It's certainly not a coincidence that the Lizard Squad decided to DDoS and just harass Daybreak for a really long time now, and also harass Smedley just in general, to the point where he had to get another flight because his flight, I think, was canceled, if I remember correctly, at one point due to the Lizard Squad's intervention, trying to just harass him. And then, of course, he decides to go on Twitter and threaten them, essentially, be all macho man, John, Smedley, and that was not really a good idea. It essentially just made them want to attack Daybreak more, which is what the result was. And so I think what he's doing is he's stepping down just to either A, make it so the Lizard Squad maybe just doesn't really remember him as much, even though they will, and so they maybe will not target Daybreak anymore, or he's just basically like, okay, I need a break from this because there's been too much crap in the past months now, and I just need a break so that way I don't go on Twitter and threaten a hacker group that's going to DDoS my company again. So it's one of those things where I think it's reactionary based on his general emotions, and he needs to just sort of relax a bit and just take a step back, and that's what I think this is a result of.
Yeah, the whole flight grounding thing, that was back when it was still Sony Entertainment, and they called
Yeah.
in a bomb threat to a flight that was already in the sky, and so they rerouted and landed that thing. But then the latest, Jason, was, of course, the whole members of Lizard Squad being charged with thousands and thousands and thousands of internet crimes, and whether you agree with the sentence or you disagree with the sentence, I think everybody would at least say that it was a fairly light sentence given
Right,
yeah.
the amount of sheer charges brought against the individual, and Smedley not happy about that, and taking that extra step on not just saying, hey, not happy, this kind of sucks, I think this should have gone down differently, but actually calling out, I'm coming after you.
Mm-hmm.
On,
Coming after
on,
you.
on his
Something
Twitter.
else he apparently said was, I hope I hope something like, I wish you'd wind up in an American jail and your cellmates could get to know you. So that kind of, brings a whole new
That's
meaning
where I
to
see
stuff.
the HR team. Good,
Yeah,
John,
exactly.
stop!
Exactly. I mean, like you said, we appreciate the bluntness and honesty to some extent, but sometimes you just got to have that filter between your brain and your mouth, or your brain and your fingers on the keyboard, especially when you're in such a high-placed position. If this
Yeah.
was, if this was some random programmer on H1Z1 or something, okay, granted he might get yelled at a little bit from his team, but he doesn't represent really the company and supposedly represent their values. So when you have the CEO doing this sort of thing, it makes it look bad. I think not only to the general civilians, people like gamers and even people in Lizard Squad who are looking at this and saying, well, this is what SOE or what Daybreak represents now. I think even you almost wonder if maybe his higher ups, maybe the Columbus Nova people looked at this and said, John, maybe we're not saying they didn't necessarily, I'm not saying they forced him out of this. Maybe someone said, maybe you ought to just kind of take it easy, chill out for a while, just figure out some other way to do things.
Yeah, you made a good point there, Jason. I just want to hop in here for a second. If this was a programmer on like H1Z1, which was your example, he would have been fired immediately because of the DDoSes, causing interruptions and this chaos altogether. But since it's Smedley, he has a lot more renown with the company, so he's able to take a step back as he's doing and essentially just sort of reevaluate his filter from what you're basically saying in terms of what he should say and what he shouldn't say, and sort of gather his emotions back together. So when he does come back into a new role, he's not scattered and also stressed as much as he was over the past basically months. So.
Yeah, and I mean we've seen this before, and I was going to make that same point. Is if you're a little lower on the totem pole, then this stuff doesn't. You're gone. You're gone. But we've seen it at Smedley's level too. I mean, remember Adam Orth on his personal Twitter talking about the Microsoft, the Xbox, and that whole fiasco. Ended up having to leave the company too. I guess they just get the opportunity to walk away rather than be fired. Where if I do that, I'm fired. Right? If you guys do that, we're fired.
Well, Luis will love you.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's got to come a point, Jason, and we kind of talked about this before the show, right? You want a company to say, okay, look, we have a stance on these types of DDoS attacks, these type of internet terrorism acts, and we're going to aggressively do things and stuff like that. And so you want them to be strong on that front, and Smedley certainly was, if not overly outspoken on the topic. But I got to believe that there comes a point on the Daybreak side or the Columbus Nova side where they say, okay, now what you're doing is deliberately provoking what is being done to and we can't have this. We've got to stop this little war right now because we're on the losing side. We look bad because we're fighting unknown people, and now we look bad in the eyes of our players because we can't keep the damn things running.
You know what it makes me think of now? It makes me think of like being on forums. Like if you're on the forums, no, seriously, and if the developer posts, this is what we're doing with the class, and you say, I don't think that's a good idea for the class. I think it should be done this other way or whatever. That's fine. When you say, stupid developer, you don't know what the bleep you're talking about, you should be fired. That's the sort of thing that can get you banned off the forums.
Yeah.
And that to me is where Smedley crossed the line. Yeah, you're right. If he wants to have the strong stance and make good, decent points about stuff, that's fine. But when he launches into the personal attacks and just starts going off half-cocked, that's when you've crossed the line and shouldn't be doing that sort of thing and can theoretically get punished for it, which he may or may not have.
I don't know. I think I'm interested to see what role he gets when he comes back. First off, if he
PR,
comes back,
obviously.
right? Yeah, right. Right. I'm interested to see what he does because all in all, I think Smed is good for the genre as a whole.
Yeah.
I do think he's good for the genre as a whole. Maybe not in the position he was in. I mean, he certainly has done some great things. He's done some things that we all go, that was kind of dumb. Why are you saying that about H1Z1? I mean, that's just not true, and it doesn't make sense, and whatever. But I think as a whole, he's might be a little bit of a blowhard, but I think he does mean well, and that blowhard probably comes from, at least the impression I get, from a place of passion. Even if it's misguided sometimes, it is a place of passion for what he does. So I'm interested to see what his role when he comes back is.
One interesting thing I'll point out, a cheap plug, that next week I'm going to have an article on MMORPG.com about using Glassdoor ratings to evaluate how good game companies are. The CEO approval for John Smedley, there were 58 employees or former employees. Guess what percentage his approval is?
From those 58 employees, we're on a scale of 1 to 100?
Yes. How many of them?
I'm going to go with 68.
75.
27.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That low.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So maybe his routine has been wearing a little thin.
Yeah. From
People
the
inside the company as well as out.
Oh, damn. We'll see.
Was that taken before SOE became Daybreak or after?
This was taken about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's probably why then.
Well, I have to look. Let's see.
Well, still, this is also internal, though. Yeah, so those types
Yeah.
of things
Internal, exactly.
wouldn't weigh too heavily in this because they would know that stuff's coming internally. You know, that's just employee perception of him.
2 years ago, on 46 reviews, it was 28%.
So he really hasn't gone anywhere.
No, not really. And you look at all the people that have left, either whether voluntarily or not, and you just kind of wonder where the company's going in some way.
Yeah, but then we saw a post. I think it was today, wasn't it? I mean, Scott Hartzman's already talked about Smedley stepping away. He said he's a guy who loves games to his core, always led with his heart, and there are easily 1,000 people's careers, mine included, that he's touched or helped grow in meaningful ways. Now, granted, Scott Hartzman's up on the chain, and a rival company, so he's going to say nice things PR-wise here. All the way back to the beginning, he was the one who believed in the game that would become EverQuest from inside a PS2 sports game studio. That's the kind of guy he is, the one who believes so deeply and thoroughly in games that he leveled up an entire mode of gaming and fostered the creation of the first real runaway success in a genre. The world and the games industry would be a lot better place with more people who believed things like that and dared to act on them. And that's not just, it's not just Scott Hartzman. Matt Higbee also spoke out. And said that it was tough to overstate the influence Smed has on his life. And so, yeah, it's kind of weird that inside the camp, things might not be as rosy-colored as people who may have been inside the camp and now are not see it. I don't know. Tough one. Interesting to see what happens when he comes back. Next month, Hearthstone gets a new expansion. Another one. I'm just going to turn this over to you, Jason. The Grand Tournament. I do like what they're kind of doing with the story here and after the Lich King fell and the tournament grounds and everything. 50 pack pre-orders are going to be on sale with a discount, and then of course the pricing will resume as normal after that. I really do like the Inspire ability, but let me give you a chance to do an overview here of what's going down.
Well, I mean, you pretty much described it pretty well. 110 cards. 110 was 130. 130 new cards, sorry. 130 new cards. Like I said, the new Inspire ability, which gives a minion something to do every time you use a hero power. Like the example they give is it gets +1 attack every time you use it. A lot of emphasis on hero powers in general. A lot of cards that affect hero powers, like making them cheaper, letting you use them multiple times. They just revealed a legendary today that has a battle cry that essentially doubles your hero power for the most part. Or makes it better in general. For the numeric ones, it just straight up doubles it, like the priest can heal for 4. Druid gets +2 attack, +2 armor, so stuff like that. And yeah, like you said, the sort of, as Eric Dawes was talking about during the presentation, it's like they really wanted to emphasize the whole tournament aspect. A lot of stuff, a lot of knights on horses, that sort of thing. So that's why a lot of the cards, a lot of the legendaries are going to represent characters like that, and various other nightly and tournament-based stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting direction to go to try and modify a real core part of the game.
Zach, are you a Hearthstone guy? Jason and I have talked at length about what we like, what we don't like, prior to you being on the show. What do you think of the game as a whole?
I think that it's nutty in some ways, way too RNG based than others, but I think overall the game is very fun. And I do play it when I'm on public transit a good bit. I play it when I'm just only have my phone available, but I don't play it really regularly anymore on my desktop because of the fact that it just seems to be way too grindy for me, especially with all the expansions that come out. I was able to get the Naxxramas one progressed decently, but as soon as I actually had to pay a good bit of gold to get the Blackrock Mountain one, for example, I just didn't really want to grind to get it, and because of that, my decks were behind meta. And since I was behind meta, there was really not a way that I was able to compete in upper ranks. And so it's one of those things where I like it to some degree. I think this expansion is going to make it a little bit more nutty than it already is, especially with the Inspire and making it so the hero powers can be doubled and influence the game a lot more. I can see Warlocks becoming a really, really strong hero now, especially with the Frost Giant. That lowers its mana cost every time you use a hero power. So I really see a lot of random nutty mechanics that are just going to make the game even more nutty, especially since watching the show matches, I don't know, it just doesn't really feel like a card game that I can play over and over and over again. Where before, when it was just coming out and before Naxxramas, I was really, really, really addicted to it. I just don't like the way Blizzard monetizes it, and I'm looking forward to Magic Duel's Origins because of that. Played it a little bit last night on the iPad, and it just feels a lot more consistent to me than Hearthstone does, where Hearthstone you can be like at 60 health, for example. There was a video of a warrior at like 60 health, I mean, of course, if you count his armor, and a mage that was pretty much dead was able to come back because infinite fireballs. It's just stuff like that that really irks me about the game, where Magic the Gathering, this is a lot more consistent. So...
Oh, see, I kind of love stuff like that. Like, and I saw the video too, where it's the warrior has whatever, like 28 hit points, and then a shield up to the tune of 50, and the mage storms back infinite fireballs and gets a concession out of it. See, stuff like that. I mean, it's got to be perfect storm of multiple things coming together, and when they do, it's really cool, but the odds of it coming together are astronomically against you.
Yeah.
And I love aspects of that. Jason, you and I, when Gnomes and Goblins, or Goblins and Gnomes came out, we said kind of the same thing, because a lot of those cards, their abilities were totally RNG based. You could get this, you could get this, you don't know. And a lot of those cards... And I didn't have the impact on the game that I thought it was. Yeah, it did add more RNG, which a lot of us don't like, but it didn't have that impact on now the game is just a coin flip that you and I maybe thought it would have prior to that expansion's launch. I got to say, I love the Inspire ability, that there's, besides just using your hero power, that now has other benefits, because I always thought that was kind of like I have one resource left. Okay, fine. I'll hit you. Yeah, one or two. I'll hit you with this, or I'll throw a shield up on me. I like the idea of that becoming more of a factor in games, and now the hero power being more part of your deck strategy, rather than just something you use because you don't have anything else to play and you have 2 resources left. Which is kind of the way it's felt in a lot of cases. There are some builds that have capitalized on it before too, but this is going to give some really awesome perks to cards, and I'm going to get killed by it. I can already tell that I'm going to get killed by it multiple times. Jason, how are you keeping up with the old Hearthstone there? I know you used to play it kind of like every other day type deal, especially the arena. Are you still playing it like that now?
Yeah, I still do, just about at the same rate. I mean, I'm not a person who grinds up to top ranks or anything. I don't think I've even made top 10 yet. I just play it mostly for fun, because I'm not going to just net deck and go out and, take whatever's out there and remake that in my own deck. Usually because I maybe don't want to pay for the legendaries or whatever. So I just have fun. I play around a lot. Like I said, to do a lot of arena because you don't need as much. You don't need to have the resources for that. I've been playing the tavern brawl stuff. They brought that out, which is kind of. I mean, it's kind of about how I've been at most CCGs, even the ones that for the companies I've worked for. I'm not that good of a player. Like even when I had access to every single card, I was like, yeah, I could make the ultimate crush you everything deck. But I want to do this fun little thing over here. I'm a Johnny, as they would call it in the vernacular. I like intricate combos, doing cool stuff, that sort of thing, rather than just the crush you at every opportunity kind of stuff.
I'm gonna lose 69 times, but that one time,
because I'm gonna get,
it's gonna be amazing because I'm gonna get everything I need,
and I'm gonna manage it. Yeah.
Well, my thing is really just the fact that, I mean, Hearthstone is a different type of card game. I mean, I don't want to knock anyone who plays it. You either like games like Hearthstone or you like games like Magic the Gathering. It's two different crowds. I just don't like the fact that as a player, a free player, I can't immediately buy these packs. I have to buy the expansion and then be able to, because there's like one card in particular with the Hunter deck that I have that I wasn't able to get because I don't have the Blackrock Mountain. And they say that they're doing it like the past expansions, which implies to me that they're going to lock that behind the expansion. I mean, unless there's some magical button I'm not pressing. I can't buy the expansion packs. Like for example, like the card packs. So like Blackrock Mountain, I can't buy those card packs.
Oh, the adventures.
Exactly, yeah.
What do you mean?
So
they're not offering those for sale anymore?
I'm not able to get some of the expansion. So unless I'm missing something, because like with the goblins and gnomes, I'm able to buy separate card packs for that, unless they lump it all together. But everywhere I read, it just doesn't. Yeah.
You can just buy the individual wings for Blackrock.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to have to do that. I just want to buy.
I don't want to spend the money. Well, you don't spend the money. I didn't spend money on it.
It's a free-to-play game, Jason.
I didn't spend money on it either. I bought it all because I ground it out of my gold. So you know.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, it's just something I don't like. But it's one of those things where there's a crowd for it, and it's a massive game. I mean, you look at Twitch. I think it pulled in like what.
There were
200,000, 400,000?
200,000 at the peak, like 220.
Yeah, so many people.
Which dropped to like 30,000 after they stopped revealing cards.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, Jason, I hope you do like Hearthstone, but you're gonna have to take a break from it for a little while. Can you Jason? Can you pull your camera angled down just a little bit? For some reason, it's been creeping down in your mouth. There we go. Your mouth keeps getting hidden, but more and more by your lower third. There you go. Okay, no, don't do that. Jason, you're not going to have time to play Hearthstone anymore because Lord of the Rings Online is doing something a little new.
Yeah.
Because they got a year and a half left.
Don't tell people that.
It was one of the first comments on your article.
Don't tell people that.
Lord of the Rings Online is going to start dishing out weekly story content centered around Bingo Boffin, a nice little storyline. Kind of, they got the idea, they said in their blog, sitting around in the office talking about the latest TV show that they were watching and the newest episode that week. And so they kind of thought, well, could that type of feeling, if I can't wait till next week's episode and then everybody's talking about the episode, could that be emulated in an MMO? I think it's an interesting concept. We've seen games try more aggressive release schedules, full release schedules, and much to their detriment. But being the Lord of the Rings expert here, Jason, kind of take us through the idea, because to me, in my head, I see we're going to release content every week. And then I see, well, clearly it's not going to be like patch level content because that would just be a ridiculous time cycle. So what are we talking about? Like 3 quests that's going to take you 15 minutes, half an hour to go through, and then you got to wait an entire week for the next couple of quests? Because that would annoy me more than it would entice me to play next week.
Well, then you got to take the Netflix approach.
Yeah,
you
like
got to just not play for a month, and
right?
Come back and just binge through it all.
Like, what are they looking at here as far as the amount of content? We can't be comparing this to like something like Guild Wars 2 Living Stories,
which a lot of people still thought were terrible because it's only just a little bit of content. We only played it for a few hours. What, you were expecting like full expansions every 2 weeks? But,
right. So being a LOTRO player, how's this going to play out?
I think you're right. I think it's going to be at most 2 to 3 quests and pretty simple stuff. Go here, talk to this guy, kill 10 of this. And I think what they're really trying to do with those, they're trying to build up the story of it. and I'll say this right now: if you're gonna do this stuff, slow down, read the goddamn quest text, okay? I don't know. It might be terrible. They might be poorly written or whatever, but that is what they're probably putting all this into. They're making a story about this one hobbit, and I think it's going to go like all around. Going to go all around Middle Earth. It starts in the Shire. Who knows where it's going to end up?
That starts at level 8, but then subsequent weeks may be higher leveled.
Yeah, and they'll actually give you a preview that at the end of the week what level the next week's stuff is going to be. So you can, if you're making a new character, you can just kind of level up a little bit during it and so on. So yeah, it's going to be, I think, small bits of content. Like maybe it's going to take only 20, 30 minutes at most. And they're just going to try to get you to appreciate a brand new character and let you experience his story and sort of just have fun with that. Because LOTRO is they've done a pretty good job, I think, of handling the Tolkien license, handling Middle Earth as a whole, and creating pretty good stories. You know, yeah, even when it's a kill 10 rats quest, I feel more important when it's a kill 10 rats to help the Rangers of Arnorian or something like that. That feels better to me than, you know, random faction X, I guess. And I think this is what they're kind of going for here. They're trying to sort of, you know, milk the Tolkien-ishness.
So you're saying you're okay with Kill 10 Rats as long as it's a faction you're historically familiar with?
As long as it's a good story. As long as there's at least a little bit of reason for me to do it other than because, I guess.
As long as I know this faction outside of the game, yes. I'm perfectly happy to kill as many rats as you need. What do you think, Zach? I kind of like the idea, and there is a certain element in my head of, if the story was good enough, I could see me going, oh shit, man, I got to get to level 15 by Wednesday because that new thing drops. And I could see that kind of like egging on. I don't know if it's enough for to get me to go back as a new player, though, and I think that's if that's not the point, then I don't really know what is, because somebody like Jason with max level stuff running around, are you going to roll an alt to go through this, Jason, or are you just going to take your character? You're going to take your character.
I'm thinking about rolling an alt.
Get the hell out of here. You ain't rolling another alt.
Come on, I've only got 8 characters now.
What do you think, Zach?
I just think it's another good example of developers trying to figure out how to retain their players, and I think that it's not necessarily a bad idea. I think any ideas to retain players are good ones, so long as it doesn't ruin the experience of the game. And I could go into some developers recently that are doing that with capping. But to digress from that, I don't really mind the like sort of progressing story, like sort of episodic story type experiences that developers are trying to come out with, you know, whether it be ArenaNet with Guild Wars 2 or now Turbine with Lord of the Rings Online. It's not going to get me back in the game. I think it's just a small thing to retain players and make them be a little bit more active within the game. But it's one of those things where if this was like a newer MMO and they were doing this, I'd be like more like cheering on about it. But it's one of those things where only people who are actually in the game that have experience with the title, like Jason, are going to be excited for this. No new players, I don't think, are like, I'm going to go download Lord of the Rings Online and play it now just because of this little tiny thing. I think it's this entirely for player retention. That's it.
I kind of like it, though. I do like what they're trying
are
here.
Finally going to play now? Finally?
And here's the thing. I mean, I love a good story. I mean, I play my MMO right now is Final Fantasy XIV, and that is largely a story-driven MMO, and I love it for it. I love the Tolkien universe. I love the story there. If Jason comes back after episode 1 and says, dude, it was actually kind of neat, I think you should check it out. I can't say I'm not going to roll a character, go check it out, because I can get sucked into story like that. So, when's the first one go live, Jason?
I believe it's with the next update, no, actually, because it's going to be weekly, so it's not going to be tied to the regular update cycle, and I don't believe they've actually given a date for when it's going to come out.
Cool. All right, we'll keep you posted, and I'm sure Jason will let me know that I should go and check it out or not. Real quick before we head on over to the bombs, we had 4 news stories today because the Smedley thing broke kind of late or early, depending on what time of the world you're in. Last night, Jason was writing articles at midnight last night. City of Heroes is back. Kind of. Brian emailed me at magicman@mmobomb.com, so feel free to drop me an email if you got something you want us to talk about or a viewer question or whatever. Brian emailed and said, hey, you might want to take a look at this. I'm a big City of Heroes fan. Obviously, we've got City of Titans coming, but that's a volunteer team, so it's probably quite a ways away. The most recent video kind of showed off some more art and things like that. But Titan Network did release the City of Heroes Paragon chat, so you can go in. The full character creator is there. You can visit any zone in the game that you want. It is a little buggy here and there. You can chat with everyone else that still wishes the game was online. But that's really it. There's no superhero powers. There's no missions. There's no events or anything like that. But it is kind of nostalgia field, and if you're a role player, I guess it's kind of neat. Zach, is this something you're going to jump into?
No, I've never really been a City of Heroes fan. I was more DC Universe Online. I had a cap level character in that. Played through most of the end game, probably up until they released so much new content. I don't know, about 5 raids ago, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while since I played DC, but I've just never been a City of Heroes fan. I think I just sort of got into MMOs a little bit too late for it to actually grab me. Because when I got into it, it was a little bit dated at the time. And also, I was a little bit hooked on World of Warcraft at the time. Not a little bit hooked. I was completely hooked, let's be honest here. So I didn't really experiment with other MMOs. And when I did, I just ended up going back to World of Warcraft at that time. So it never really grabbed me. The only superhero game that grabbed me recently was DC Universe Online. And I still go back to that from time to time, but that's one of those free-to-play games that you really can't fully enjoy without subscribing to it, unless you want to spend a ton of money to unlock all the downloadable content to be able to actually do the raids that you want to. So,
see, I really liked City of Heroes, and I would play City of Heroes. I'm looking forward to City of Titans. I don't know if we're ever really going to see that in a meaningful time frame, but okay, if they can pull it off, great. More power to them. Love them for their passion over at Missing Worlds Media, but I don't know if we're going to see that anytime soon. I wouldn't jump into this, though, because I think for me it'd be more of a nostalgia punch in the face because I can't do anything but talk, and I was never I'm not an RP type of guy anyway. Jason, you dabbled in the City of Heroes. You going to log into Paragon chat?
Dabbled. It was my first MMO.
I know.
And let's just say this has been like my episode of this, because you got Hearthstone, you got LOTRO.
I know this episode was catered for winter.
All for me. I've actually downloaded the installer, and I'm going to get going on it as soon as we are in this thing. So
you're gonna jump in?
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna see how it's like. See if I get the feels.
You're definitely going to get the feels, but then you're going to have the feels followed by blind anger because you can't even sprint yet.
Yeah, true. There is that. But the thing is, I remember I jumped back into the game.
And now you're stuck on the ground looking up at all these buildings you used to fly by.
Now my hero was terrible. He couldn't run very well anyway. But no, I mean, I jumped into the game after I went free to play, and I was just shocked at how slow and awful it felt compared to what I was used to, at that point. So there's no combat. Oh, that's fine. That makes it better.
If you want some hideous City of Heroes nostalgia, go ahead, check it out. Let's go over to the weekly bombs. Zach, why don't you go first, sir?
I'm going to go ahead and give a bomb to Splash Damage, the developers of Dirty Bomb, for giving everyone, at least I think everyone, a lot of my friends got it, 50,000 free credits, in-game credits, in order to purchase whatever you wanted to. I think that was a really great incentive for people who maybe haven't been playing the game recently due to maybe other games coming out, or just them taking a break to hop back in, maybe purchase a new Merc with those credits, or maybe try and get a new loadout card that they've been trying to get, whether it be through cases or just by upgrading bronze cards to silver, to whatever the case may be. I think it was just a really good incentive. And yeah, I mean, I would probably have given an A-bomb to Skyforge, but I think I beat that dead horse too much, where PETA might be at my doorstep. So
womp womp. I'm going to give a double bomb to WildStar for their stat revamp. If you haven't read it, check it out. They're doing a lot of stat overhauls and getting rid of some of the stats that you didn't know what the hell they did anyway in a lot of cases. Definitely needed going into a free-to-play conversion. I actually asked them about this in an interview a long time ago before the game came out, when they had like Moxie and they named all their stats, that stuff. They said they wanted it to be different and it fit their theme. And my concern was, aren't you worried that players are going to kind of be confused by these? They're stats that they've never heard of. You know, if I know what strength is, I know what intelligence is, I know what this is. Just kind of seemed to me like change for the sake of change.
Well, you just weren't hardcore enough, man.
I don't know. It was very weird. I'm glad they're finally fixing it, doing it away with that stuff, and it's certainly going to be a welcome addition on the free-to-play front. What about you, Jason? 2 DeBombs. Do we have a third one?
We have a third DeBomb.
Holy!
DeBomb
So
to
much
the...
positivity.
Well, this isn't really a positive DeBomb, though, honestly. I give a DeBomb to the Derek Smart Star Citizen feud that's been going on for several weeks now. Entertaining the hell out of me, just reading that idiot and the other guys and just going back and forth, and it's so much fun because I'm highly skeptical of I'm skeptical of Star Citizen, but I'm even more skeptical of anything Derek Smart has to say. So
yeah, and you and I have gone on record months and months ago saying that this is going to end badly with the whole Star Citizen thing.
It's gonna be either the greatest thing ever or the absolute biggest train wreck in history.
Yep, it'll put 38 studios to shame.
I'll stick with my Elite Dangerous. Just saying.
Grimsbane says, man, I don't know if it's just me having a negative viewpoint or companies are just getting, I don't know how to put it, dumber. I'd like to give an A-bomb to developers of Skyforge. There you go, Zach. You didn't have
Couldn't
to do
get through a whole episode without it.
The reason being that the Sparks and Class Sparks have a weekly cap. That's right, a weekly cap. This cap is so low that you can't even unlock the class you really want to play within the first week. As stated before by many players, we don't like it when our core feature that we enjoy is being limited. My advice to any company developing MMOs right now or upcoming ones is toss out the limits. I can say personally for myself and some Western players, we're tired of cap systems, and I think ArcAge with its cheap labor system was a good example of how we do not like it well at all. And Skyforge team would like you to know you're wrong. That's just how I read their blog post. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being negative.
You're wrong. Play a Facebook game.
My.com kind of said, well, you know, hey, you guys aren't playing the whole order side of things, and you should probably go and do that too. But I don't know.
Such a bad line of reasoning. Like
yeah,
that whole
it wasn't a really well written reply to
that's
those
why I
concerns
wanted
at
it.
all.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to give them an A-bomb because they're basically like, oh, go play a glorified Facebook game.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to play your actual game. Sorry.
Jason, go ahead and take the next one.
Neo Phantom says, warning, long rant below. It's actually not that long, but
We've had longer.
Or did you? I was about to say, did you trim it at all?
I did not.
Neo Phantom, you're already disappointing me. Okay. All right. He says, I have an A-bomb for area games, more specifically about Digimon Masters Online. This game has been out for a few years already, and yet the area page for this game is still just a download button with a still picture from when it launched. No news, no updates, nothing. It even has the same player numbers, 40 million. That was my stinker there. From the first month or so of release, believe me, nowhere near that now. I've got a second A-bomb for area games for the cash shop of DMO. I already know that Area was pretty good at pay to win, but with DMO they took it a little too far. It costs a whopping $30 to get a Digimon of your choice, and to unlock its Digivolutions. I hate Digimon. That is, if you're actually lucky enough that you can get a defunct. I'm not even going to talk about the stats enhancing and growth percentage. Yeah, it would have been better if they just would have put like a weekly cap to get the Digimon you wanted. For the
there you go. A weekly cap. Zach loves them. He'd play.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got a third A-bomb for area games. Wow. For getting my girlfriend addicted to DMO over all the other free-to-play games out there. I will see the repercussions on our budget at the end of the month. So much for free-to-play. TLDR, A-bomb to area games for being area games. End rant.
Wow.
All right.
I'm not even going to touch that one. I mean,
that's
wow.
fine.
Yeah, that was definitely a rant.
Go ahead, sir.
Coldia says, how can it get two single player? SWTOR already was majority single player. The game always felt like it was supposed to be single player, but in the last second, somebody had the idea, oh my god, we need to make this an MMO. Everybody makes MMOs. MMOs are the big deal now. Just remembering back to the massive network issues at launch, the network code was bad as hell. They needed a couple patches to make it decent. Then free-to-play came along, and that ruined the game. Everything was put behind a paywall, even the most basic things. You want a second skill bar? $5. You want to wear rare gear? $5. You want to upgrade rare gear? $5. Then the first expansion came, and that ruined the builds and skills you had before you couldn't use anymore unless you bought the expansion. That's where I stopped playing. A good free-to-play game never should force the players to spend money just so they can keep and use what they already had.
And we've said that for years, Jason, not just on this show, but on other ones. I couldn't agree with this viewer more. Particularly in the whole single-player aspect, which is what they're replying to based on last week's show, is we've even said it on this show, particularly when Star Wars went free-to-play, is if you wanted Knights of the Old Republic 3, then you will like their free-to-play model. Go through, go play your story, and you'll be done. If you want this as an MMO, you're probably not going to like this free-to-play model all that much.
You know, I actually met and talked to, in person, our good friend Larry Everett a couple months ago and told him, yeah, I write for Mobom, they cover free-to-play games. And he said, well, you don't cover Star Wars Old Republic, do you? And I said, yeah, we do. And he said, what, really? It's not free-to-play.
And yeah. Larry Everett could not be more of a white knight for this game, too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I really love the game, but I'll even point out it's free to try, pay to enjoy.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Yep, that was our whole point. If you wanted KOTOR 3, you'll like their free-to-play model. Yep. Enjoy the story, and then log off. Joycax says, these raiders, talking about Star Wars The Old Republic again, can complain all they want about freebies and everyone getting all the revamped flashpoints while their raids get untouched. Bottom line is if these new players don't enjoy previous flashpoints, it might be enough for them to quit the game altogether, thus meaning A, less overall server population, B, less income for BioWare, etc. C, longer queue times. D, less high-level raid-ready players. E, less possible guildies. F, less PvPers with which to test raid gear. G, you can guess where I'm headed. I came into Star Wars The Old Republic after leaving the Secret World, another MMO that was seriously dumbed down by catering to the younglings recently. And while I can understand raider complaints, I don't think they're seeing the bigger picture in all of this. And I think there's a certain amount of validity to that. But when you get gypped on all content, like for the bulk of the audience, I think that's kind of silly too.
Well, if it was the bulk, sure. But raiders are this tiny but really loud percentage.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
This comes from Madimon64. I've always said that SWTOR is a good game, just not a good MMO. If BioWare had released the game as a single-player game and made some tweaks to it in order to make it play like a single-player game, e.g. let you bring a full squad of NPC allies into battle, remove social elements, etc., they would have been hit with a lot less backlash. It's kind of what you got into a little earlier.
Yep. Question of the week last week. I was writing up Siege Lord, and I just remembered that I really don't enjoy browser-based games, but I don't really have a good reason why, besides most of them being shovelware. So I asked the viewers, how do you feel about them and why? And Valthier says, I don't usually enjoy browser MMOs because they feel cheap, and they usually are cheap, since they have to be able to run on a browser. Obviously. The game is limited on its graphics and mechanics because of this, though I did play RuneScape for 6 years, so I can't say it's not possible to make a good browser MMO, but they're definitely limited compared to a game you would download. RuneScape is really the only popular MMO I know of that can be played in your browser, so I feel the problem is you have to be fairly creative to design a good browser-based MMO with the restrictions that come with allowing your game to be played in a browser. Browser games just generally feel clunky and unpolished. That's all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right, ABC says, I guess browser-based games suck nowadays because people are not trying anymore.
Well,
vague comment is kind of vague.
Vague comment is vague. Okay. Go ahead, Jason.
Mega17, who had a very long bomb at A-bomb, too long to read on the show, which we just shoved him down here.
We do thank you for it, though.
All right. Mega17 says, with browser-based games, I feel the problem is too much effort has been put into mimicking client-based MMOs and AAA titles. It often results in a poor use of the format, their format in the browser, like when a square picture is just pasted onto a t-shirt, making no use of the shape or contours of shirts. That's just my opinion, though. I have no good examples to share due to being too shallow about graphics and animation to even consider touching any browser games. At least he's honest about it. But I sort of get the idea. It's like saying, you know, a lot of games are on mobile now, but you can't just shove a full MMO onto a mobile game. You don't want to have a game that fits on mobile necessarily working on PC, like Total War Kingdom Battles, which was not good. So yeah, I could see that talking about
they're changing things.
Yeah, they're changing things. I can see about needing to make stuff for the format you're producing, or like when I get a video on YouTube that's like 4.5, or I get a commercial before the video that's like 4.5 minutes long that I can skip 5 seconds in. Ain't nobody watching that 4.5 minute ad. Nobody. Why bother?
Relastus Lulz says, question of the week answer, I don't like browser games either, but I think they are a nice way for small companies to start. Okay, it's a small market, but usually the players that actually like playing browser games, they end up spending lots of money, which I think is good for small companies because they make that money and they can spend it making a big, like, Skyforge or something. And that's exactly why I usually don't like browser games. Those kinds of games are pay to win, and the small gaming quality doesn't help as well. But for those who actually like it, it's a nice way to help start a company. I guess that's a fair point. You got to start somewhere. Question of the week for this week. While I am sure, and Jason, I'm sure, and Zach, we're all sure that the City of Titans team is working hard on something they feel very passionately about. We're not taking a damn thing away from that team of volunteers. They've got more passion for that than many have for anything in their entire life. I have to ask, do you think that the City of Titans project will ever release the way players would actually like it to? What do you think? Put your comments down below. Come on over to the site. Make sure you put your dub bombs and A bombs in there. Let us know what you're thinking about, and if you've got questions, of course, for all the hosts here, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Until next week, where can everybody find you, Zach?
Everyone can find me on lugogaming.com. That's where I post everything that's related to myself, including a giveaway that's for a very highly anticipated single-player game that's going to be coming out in November. What game could that be?
Zach is going to personally raise your Skyforge Spark Caps. Jason!
Wow. You can find me on Twitter at WinterInformal and find me streaming occasionally, twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1, where there is no Spark Cap on my Twitter account. So spark me up as...
anyway, you never tweet.
Spark me up as much as you want until... That sounds... Never mind. Don't do that. Until next week, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.